Hello again, welcome back to Legally Cited. This is BGFH back for another video, and today I'm gonna look at Goat Simulator a little bit again because they just came out with a update a week or two ago that added a whole new map and cleaned up some bugs and all kinds of stuff. So I have not actually played in this world before, so we're just gonna wander around and take a look at that. But the real purpose of this video, the reason I'm running around in Goat Simulator is just to kind of give you guys something interesting to look at while I kind of blab on a little bit. But I wanted to do a little video on this year's E3. I know last year, I think I did it using Doom or Minecraft. I talked a little bit about what I thought of last year's E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo for the annual conference for games, video games, and I just thought I would talk a little bit about what I've found out so far this year, especially the big press conferences, press briefings, and things like that that they have before the show floor actually opens. So I'll get right into Goat Simulator here, and here we go. So just like every year, a lot of the big companies have their own press briefings, conferences, whatever you want to call them. And this year was not much different. Nintendo decided to do things a little bit differently. They did kind of this they called it a digital event, but it was kind of like a pre-recorded conference sort of thing. And but Microsoft, Sony, and then EA and Ubisoft, yes, nice. They all had their own conferences before the show as usual. So they did have that, and those are largely what I'm going to be talking about. There have been a few announcements that I've heard a little bit before and after those that I'll probably sprinkle a couple of those things in there too, if I remember them. But this is not, I'm not meaning this to be a comprehensive look at E3, because, you know, I'm not even following the show super closely because I work. I go to a regular job. So I've caught up on what I could. I've watched a couple of the press conferences, either live or archived, so I know, you know, I've watched some of them. I haven't watched all of them, but it's really just in what stands out to me, what I'm thinking about the show so far. So, you know, I apologize if I don't mention the game that you're most looking forward to, or if you've heard about something that I didn't cover on this video. These are just things that I've learned about E3 so far, what is coming out in the next year or two, and what I find good, bad, or otherwise. So one of the main themes of this E3, and even this year in general, is just there's going to be some cool stuff coming out in 2013, don't get me wrong, but a big theme was basically just wait till 2015. I mean, there's going to be so much stuff coming out in 2015. I mean, a lot of the stuff that they showed in a lot of these conferences are not coming out until 2015. That said, there are some pretty cool stuff. So Monday morning they started with Microsoft, and for those of you who have been following, you know what kind of a crazy mess their whole Xbox division has been in lately since last E3, and they did, you know, basically over the last year. For those of you guys who are not familiar, Microsoft has basically had to pull a complete 180 on pretty much at this point everything that they originally said about the Xbox One. They've gone back on now. So, you know, their whole thing last year was, you know, go back and look at E3 from last year, and they were like, this is going to be an always online console. You have to be connected. You can't play used games. You can kind of share, but not really, and it's complicated, and you have to be online, and stuff is gonna do something, and it's just this. Their messaging was horrible. There may have been some cool things that could have come out of that if they would have done their system that way, but they did a spectacularly poor job of communicating that message to the gamer, the end user, that would make it sound halfway appealing. So they also said that they're going to be including a Kinect in every box, which until just recently that was the case. So all Xbox Ones would have a Kinect camera with the system. But a couple weeks before E3, Microsoft said, well, you know about that, a lot of gamers aren't really into that. We don't have a whole lot of Kinect games coming out. We are going to support it, but, you know, about that being an integral part of the system, yeah, starting in the beginning of June, we're going to release the Xbox One for $400 without a Kinect. So you can still get a Kinect bundle, but you can also get one now without the Kinect. And there are rumors about they're going to open it up so like some games they'll run better. Like if you have a model that isn't using a Kinect or you don't have it hooked up, you can use some of the extra processor power that would originally be devoted for that to maybe tightening up the graphics a little bit, or you know basically improving the performance of the core game. So in some ways I'm kind of glad, because for the most part I don't really care about the Kinect. I mean, some of the extra like menu functionality and stuff, it sounds cool if it works, but I've heard multiple people say that it's kind of finicky. I don't really care about most of the Kinect games that are coming out or that have come out for it, even on the original 360. I don't really care. But as a developer, I would feel kind of crushed right now, because if I was making a Kinect game, at least, if it wasn't widely used before, at least you knew that if you were creating a game for the Xbox One, everybody had a Kinect. So everybody had one. Starting in June here now, not everybody is going to have one. So you're going to run into the same thing of the Xbox 360, where it's like, well, yeah, we'll probably devote some resources to it, but really what's the point, since the people who do have it, some people like it, some people really don't, and then there's just a whole other group of people that don't have it and don't like it and don't care. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So beyond all their reversing and all their changing their mind on stuff, Microsoft really had to show something off this year that, let's see, have I been up here already? Yeah, I think, okay, yeah, I have. Microsoft really had to kick it in gear, because Sony, starting last year, they were just, especially at E3 last year, they really kicked Microsoft to the curb. I mean, they were basically saying, oh, what? Well, yeah, we're going to have a cheaper console, and they took, direct pot shots at Microsoft, and they were just showing game. They're saying, we're a system for gamers, and you want to play games? Here you go. Microsoft was this TV, sports TV kind of thing that was going on last year. This time, Microsoft's conference, they were really all about games. They didn't talk about Xbox Live. They didn't talk about Kinect. They didn't talk about the video services. They got all that stuff out of the way prior to E3, because they also said prior to E3 that things like Netflix and other video and audio services are no longer going to require Xbox Live Gold. Thank God. I mean, that's something that they should have done ages ago. But especially now that none of these other systems are going to be doing that, what do we got here? Okay, I don't know what's going on up here, but it looks like I found... okay. I'm assuming this does something. But, yeah, I mean, they really concentrated on games this year, and thankfully you don't have to have a gold subscription to do all these other things, because no one else is making you pay for them either. So that's good. But all their conference was just game after game. I mean, they started out with Call of Duty, which, they're looking like they're mixing that up a little bit. They're trying to change things up a bit, because a lot of people are saying, and there's a lot of Call of Duty fans, but it sounds like each game, the last couple of years have been not quite as popular, not doing quite as well. So they're trying to mix things up a little bit there. But they started out with Call of Duty. I haven't followed Call of Duty much really since Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Beyond that, haven't really paid attention, so, you know, I'm not too excited about it myself. But then they showed some other stuff. They showed, like, Fable Legends. That looks pretty cool. Fable is a series I haven't covered on my channel yet, but I intend to in some form, especially since the original Fable, they're releasing the high-def version remake that they came out with Xbox One, I think, last year, or early this year. They're releasing that on Steam, so I think I'll be able to cover those, you know, Fable 1, 2, and maybe even 3. I'll be able to cover that kind of stuff on my channel, but Fable Legends looks pretty cool because it's an online co-op. You can play the campaign cooperatively, but then you also have one player who can play as the villain, so they can play the game from like this overhead view, kind of like if you're familiar with the Dungeon Keeper series of games, you know, before Peter Molyneux made the original Fables. They did, he worked at Bullfrog, and they made Dungeon Keeper, which is one of the few real-time strategy games that I actually really liked. That was a really cool series back in the day, and I would love a new version of that wasn't the iOS version, that just this bastardized, terrible, free-to-play garbage that got released earlier this year. I mean, just look up that online. I won't even say any more about it, but it was freaking terrible. The gameplay itself might have been good, but yeah, that was not a good way to implement that. But so they got this 4-player cooperative, and you can play as the villain, which I thought was really cool. So they showed that. They showed Forza, new Forza game. So people can look forward to that if you're looking into the more, you know, realistic simulation racing games. They showed Halo, I forget exactly the name of it, but basically the Halo collection. You get Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, all in one disc, remastered, similar to how they did the 360 version last year for the original game. So they're basically packing that in, adding Halo 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the Forge multiplayer creation. You get the, you know, original graphics and presentation and the remastered for all these games, and you get you know, all the single-player story, all the multiplayer as they were. If you're a Halo fan, you want all that stuff, you know, on one console, on one disc. It's going to be there, so that's a really nice stopgap until Halo 5 comes out next year, 2015, probably holiday next year. So they're releasing that for Halo fans. Not too bad. The one that caught me, that really stood out to me, was Sunset Overdrive. This is by, I believe, Sucker Punch is the one who made it, or the company that made it, and they are the ones that made like the Ratchet and Clank games and Infamous, both of which are really kind of unique in their style. Infamous was this, you know, kind of superpower game where it was open world, but you could like glide on rails, and the maneuverability was really good. And just, you could do all kinds of crazy superpower stuff, kind of compared to, if you watch my Saints Row 4 video, you know, kind of sort of along that lines, but not quite. And then you have the Ratchet and Clank games, which are really, you know, funny games that also happen to have some just really ridiculous and crazy weapons. So they're kind of combining everything that they've done in the past to the Sunset Overdrive, and they're just making this kind of crazy open world ridiculous game where, like, there's this weird energy drink that's turning everybody into mutants, and you're just going around using these crazy weapons, blowing shit up, killing guys, and just, you know, zooming around the world. The demo that they showed at the conference was they were trying to go into these like fairgrounds, and they ended up going to this roller coaster and fighting this giant dude and this mutant thing. Really kind of crazy stuff there, and it's super colorful. That's what I like. That's another trend that I think I saw from all companies this year. People are starting to realize, thankfully, and I hope to God this trend continues, as I've said in previous videos, we're actually getting color back in our games. Everything's not just gray-brown, maybe a little bit of green. And Sunset Overdrive is a perfect example of that. They're saying it's an Xbox One exclusive, but at one time I thought I heard that it was coming to PC. So I'm hoping to God that once they get the Xbox One version out of the way and ready to go, I'm hoping that Sunset Overdrive does come to PC, because regardless, I will find a way to play that game at some point. It looks really fun, really good, really crazy. They showed some indie games off there. I'm not gonna, I can't really think of any specific ones, but there's some well-known ones that are coming to the platform. There's also some kind of new ones that are coming out they talked about. So they showed a little bit of a reel on some of the stuff that was coming out there. Like I said, they did the Fable, they did the Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed Unity, which is their new next-generation Assassin's Creed game. They showed that both at Microsoft and Ubisoft, who are the creators of it. There's going to be a new Tomb Raider game. People are a real big fan of the recent Tomb Raider reboot, so we've got that to look forward to. Assassin's Creed is one of those games that I've played a little bit of the first one and just found it too repetitious. Everyone says it gets really good with Assassin's Creed 2. I have that for PC. I know I can get 3 and Brotherhood and a few other. There's just been... Assassin's Creed has turned into this annual series, sort of like how the Call of Duty games have. They've been holding up for the most part pretty good. I know people weren't, they're kind of lukewarm on Assassin's Creed 3, but if you're into those games and if you're caught up with them, it looks pretty solid because it's going to have 4-player co-op through the campaign. You can join your other guys and go on the assassination missions, so that sounds pretty cool. But myself, I'm just so far behind in those games that it's just not really a factor for me right now. I may pay attention to it eventually, but not right now. But if you're into that, it looks really good. So we've got Halo, we've got Halo 5 coming out next year. You're going to get the beta if you get the Halo collection. You're going to get the beta at the end of December, so look forward to that. They ended their conference with a return of a game that I'm really hopeful for, Crackdown. That was an early game that had the Halo 3 beta in it on the Xbox 360, and Crackdown 1 was fantastic. Again, look at my Saints Row 4 video. I talk about the comparison to that in Crackdown. The joy in that game was just using your kind of superhuman abilities to jump over, jump across buildings and fling cars and kick dudes across, whatever, and just you're moving around the environment collecting all these orbs, and the more orbs you collect, the further you can jump, or the harder you can punch, or the more crazy stuff you can do. So it was actually really fun and rewarding, not just to collect all those orbs in high places, but they were actually rewarding because you just kept getting more powerful. Crackdown 2 I was super excited for, and it just didn't deliver. It was made by a different company. They added these mutants and things and stuff like that. They had the orbs and it was sort of fun, but just all the mutant stuff I couldn't get into. So a lot of people kind of shared my feelings on that. So Crackdown 2 is kind of meh. So I'm really hoping, especially since I've heard that the original developers are making this new Crackdown game. So I'm hoping that this new Crackdown turns out to be really awesome, because that could be something. I doubt that's going to come to PC, but one can dream, because the originals didn't. But one can dream that maybe they'll open that up a little bit and maybe make a PC port, so who knows. But that's one that I'm cautiously excited for as well. So then you had EA after Microsoft, and I didn't watch that conference live. I really only watched videos for a couple of things that I was really interested in. They did announce a new Battlefront game, Star Wars Battlefront, which if you're into that, it could be really cool. They did announce a new Battlefield game. This one's a little bit different. Hardline, Battlefield Hardline. It's a Battlefield game, but it's basically cops and robbers, or good guy, bad guy. Modern day, kind of like Heist. If you've seen, everyone compares it. Every time you hear about a game like that, people call it, they want to compare it to the movie Heat, because that's what they want the games to be. Payday 1, or Payday the Heist, and Payday 2, which I haven't yet covered on the channel, but I want to at some point. I think they were the first ones to really try that concept and get it fairly right. They have, I haven't played 2 yet, but I've played 1 a bit, and conceptually, there's a lot there that's really cool, and I do like some aspects of it. It works pretty well, but there's some stuff that's a little clunky or doesn't work quite as well. But Payday was, I think, really one of the games that's tried to do that concept and did it pretty well for what they were going for. But this new Battlefield could be pretty cool with that. They showed some stuff that looked kind of interesting. The major thing that I'm really skeptical, and I know a lot of people are also going to be gun-shy with this game, because Battlefield 4, which came out like in November last year, I believe, and it's still not fully fixed. It's still kind of broken on a lot of platforms. I haven't followed it too closely because I'm not super huge into those games, but from what I hear, people are still having problems with Battlefield 4, and when it came out, and even for a few months, the game was just broken on multiple platforms. You had the Xbox One, the 360, the PS3, the PC. There were versions of it that you couldn't get online, and even if you were trying to do offline things, it was just wouldn't work. And I don't even know what all the problems were, but it's been a continuous really blemish on the Battlefield games. So hopefully they can redeem themselves on that a little bit. I hope they can, because they're going to have their work cut out for them with any new Battlefield games until they really prove themselves again. EA, they also had The Sims, which, if you're into that, I think it'll be cool. I really haven't paid much attention since The Sims 2, and even then, I played Sims 1 a lot, but I played 2 a little bit, and after that, I really couldn't tell you what's going on with that franchise, so there's that. You have your normal, all of your EA sports games, your Madden, your FIFA, your MLB, and I don't even know. I mean, just the NHL games, all that kind of stuff. I really don't play any of those either, so I don't want to comment on those. Again, there's plenty of other sites that'll talk a lot about those if you're looking for that. I really only get into release arcade sports games, NBA Jam, NFL Blitz. Although I really miss the NFL 2K games. Those were fantastic. NFL 2K, NFL 2K5 were amazing. And I'm still kind of a little bit bitter at EA Sports for basically buying out the exclusivity rights to the NFL, so that, they did, the 2K games, they did better, so no, we can't do that by making a better game. No, we're just going to buy it out so no one else can make anything, and we'll just keep... yeah, I'm just going to stop right there because that's a whole other tangent. But you have their sports games. You've got all that if you're looking for that. EA, Criterion is also making some kind of a new... Those are the guys that made the Burnout games, which I haven't covered on my channel yet. But some of the Burnout games were amazing. Burnout 3, Burnout Revenge. I haven't had a lot of time to sink into Paradise, but that was also kind of a cool game. But Burnout 3 in particular, I had endless amount of fun playing that back in the day. They're making some kind of new crazy game with cars and ATVs and helicopters, and I have no clue what's going on in that game. But it's really early on. A lot of what you saw at EA, from what I've heard, and partly why I didn't watch the full conference, was because a lot of their stuff was really early. They were kind of showing, developers were talking about it, and they were just, kind of showing some early concept footage and stuff like that. So they had a thing for Mirror's Edge 2 there, which was pretty cool. I liked kind of what they were saying about that, and what their conceptual demo that they had looked pretty interesting, but it's super early right now. It's definitely a ways off. 2015 at the earliest, I would say. That, I think, wraps up a lot of what EA had. You did have, but I forget if it was EA or if that was Microsoft's booth where they had, or conference where they had Dragon Age, Dragon Age Inquisition, which actually looked pretty good. That's another series that I'm just so far behind on that it looks cool, but unless, you know, if I need to know some of the story, I'm super far behind on it. And depending on how the combat is, I don't know if I'll like that game or not, but if you're into that kind of game, I think you'll really have something to look forward to there. Ubisoft had some pretty cool stuff. The surprise that the thing that took me by surprise was they announced a new Rainbow Six game, Rainbow Six Siege, and they did a live demo of this on the floor, or on the conference, and that looked pretty darn cool. Because Rainbow Six, for those who don't know, they started that on the PC probably 10, 15 years ago. And it's a first-person shooter, but it's more tactical. You actually went through the planning phase. So, like, you would be given a mission objective, and there may be hostages. So let's say you were entering a house, and you had to, you know, I don't know, you entered a building and you had to disarm a bomb, or you had to do whatever it is you had to do, and there were hostages. And you would plan your entry points. You could put certain dudes over on one entrance, some other guys on another entrance, and then you would go in and, you know, not watch them, but you would take the role of these characters you could switch between, and then you would try to execute this plan that you had made out, that you had mapped out on the planning screen, and hopefully things didn't go too horribly. The version that they had for the Ubisoft conference looked really cool. And the demo was really definitely well produced. I mean, it was a little bit kind of like, yeah, if you had somebody who was, you know, a team of people that could execute things perfectly and communicated well, you could have an experience like this. But I know they were just trying to show the game in its optimal, you know, form, but nevertheless, it was still pretty cool. Both Far Cry, which they also announced, Far Cry 4, and they showed a little bit of, Far Cry 4 and Rainbow Six are games that I really respect, and I love what they do, and I want to like the games a lot. But the problem that I have is, as a visually impaired gamer, especially the Rainbow Six game, I've tried earlier versions of them in the past, and they look really cool, but I am terrible at playing them because, you know, this isn't an arcade shooter. You know, you can't take a whole clip of rounds and still live to tell the tale. You know, if you get shot once, you're probably smoked. So, you know, by the time if I figure out, okay, is this an enemy, is it a good guy, or is this a hostage, or whatever, or sometimes I just won't even see a guy and I'll just get popped from some balcony somewhere, and by the time I figure out where they're shooting me from, I'm dead. So those are games that I like to kind of watch other people play just because I love what they're doing, and if I could see better, I would probably really like them a lot more. But I just have a feeling that those are some games that's going to cause me some problems as a visually impaired gamer. Ubisoft also showed off The Crew, which is like a driving game. I'm not too sure what to think about that, but it could be cool. It's a little bit more arcadey kind of thing. What else did they show? They showed some fitness game, which I don't really care about. You know, they kind of said that, well, fitness is, you know, boring. You know, we're trying to make it more game-like and make it more rewarding. So if you're doing things like push-ups or what other exercises they include in the game, they're trying to make it so that, you know, you actually kind of want to do them, or they kind of factor into the game somehow. And I respect what they're doing, but it's a Kinect game for the Xbox One, and I just don't. I'm sorry, but I just don't care. Not nice to say, but I don't care about it. So they had that there. They had Ubisoft. What else did they have? The Division, they had that, which is kind of this kind of third. It's this tactical, or I'm not even sure how tactical, but it's this kind of crazy open world sort of thing. I don't know a whole lot about it, but what they demoed looked pretty darn cool. Again, you're doing a lot of co-op stuff there. So The Division, that's not going to come out, I don't think, until next year either. So, but that's something to look forward to.
Such a magnificent creature.
They're doing some cool stuff with that.
Once I was a goat.
What else did Ubisoft have? I think that was mainly... if I missed anything, I'll come back. I apologize. Sony, I did watch that conference. They did that at night, and I did watch it. They did a pretty decent job, although there were a few kind of low points that were kind of boring to sit through. But they did also a pretty good job of showing off some games. They showed there's going to be a new Uncharted game. They showed that at the end. That was really pretty cool. It actually looked really amazing, which means I'll definitely have to catch up on my Uncharted games that I have for my PS3. The Last of Us is they're releasing basically a higher def version for the PS4, so you can play that on your fancy new machine. They've got Destiny, which is Bungie's exclusive game for the PS4 right now. Again, that was something that I heard at one point I thought was coming to the PC, and I know they're working on, they want to push their console version of it right now, but again, that's another one that I really hope is going to come to the PC, because I do really want to play that. Oh, one thing I missed about the Microsoft thing, and it was really funny, and probably, I don't know how I forgot about it, one of the funniest things. They released some downloadable content for Dead Rising 3, and I don't even remember what it's called because it was so many things in the title, but it was like, you know, a thing if you follow Capcom games at all, especially the Street Fighter series. They've got Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Ultra HD, something remix, Championship Edition, blah, blah, whatever. Just and how many times can they remake the same game, and how many crazy things can they add to the same title of the same game? They're doing the same thing for Street Fighter 4. Well, they released this downloadable content for Dead Rising 3. That basically, at least they're self-aware. They called it, it was just this ultra ridiculous string of words, and they said, boom, it's out right now. So if you have Dead Rising 3, you can play that right now. But the way they presented it, it was really funny and just perfect. I mean, at least they're acknowledging that, okay, this is getting ridiculous. And like I said, at least we're self-aware. So I did find out as well that Dead Rising 3 is coming to the PC, I think this summer sometime, so that will be really cool, although from what I'm seeing of the system requirements, I'm not sure if my video card is going to be just under the minimum system requirements, so I'm a little bit frightened about that. Maybe they'll polish it up a little bit and maybe I can squeak by. I don't know, but it would be very sad because Dead Rising 3 gets rid of some of the problems that the original 2 games had, which I'll talk a little bit about in some of the other videos if I cover those games. But, yeah, so that is coming out. Back to Sony, like I said, they had the Uncharted, they had Destiny. They showed Drive Club, which is kind of their racing game that was supposed to be a launch title, free to PlayStation Plus members, and then like you could pay for it also if you didn't have Plus. But that's coming out as well. Sony also showed, they've been supporting indies from the beginning of the PlayStation 4 launch. They were really key to focus on that last year, and they're continuing to support that. So you're going to get to see some, lots of indie games come to their platform. They also showed off they talked a little bit about their PlayStation Now, the PlayStation Network, and their new PlayStation TV is what they call it. There is a PlayStation Vita TV is what they call the device in Japan when it launched, I believe earlier this year. And this is like a $100 device that they're going to sell. And you can have your PlayStation 4 in your living room or whatever, and let's say that somebody else wants to do something else with the TV. If you have this $100 box, you can stream PS4 games to another TV in your home, and you can play your PlayStation Vita games using that device on a TV if you wish. You can also play their PlayStation Classics games, the downloadables there, all on that $100 device. So I think that could potentially have some pretty cool uses. It may not be for everybody, but I think it sounds like a pretty cool device. I finally did get a PlayStation Vita during a holiday sale last year, Black Friday sale. So, if I have trouble seeing some of the games, it could be a interesting way to play some Vita games. I know some people aren't really excited about that feature, but as a visually impaired gamer, hey, playing some of these smaller screen games on a bigger screen sounds good to me. So they talked about that. They're working on their PlayStation Now subscription, which I really don't know all the details of. There's going to be like some subscriptions and renting things, and I don't exactly know how it's supposed to work, and I don't think they really do either yet. I know they're doing a beta test for people later this year, and then they haven't decided on, they said even in the conference that they haven't decided on pricing yet for it, so I don't know, but it could potentially be another cool thing for PlayStation fans there. Then they talked about, the part that was, they had Little Big Planet 3 they showed, so all the content that was in the first Little Big Planets and that anybody created, the good news is you can pull that right into the Little Big Planet for PS4 there, Little Big Planet 3. They did cover that a little bit. That dragged on a little bit too much, that presentation, but cool news if you're a fan of that series. They did talk about some of the video stuff. They're trying to do like what everyone else is doing. They want to have exclusive video content. So they talked about this Powers series, which is based off of some comic books that I'm not familiar with, but the concept sounded interesting, but they went on and on and on about it, I think a little bit too much during the presentation. So PlayStation Plus members will be able to get that for free, and all users will be able to get the first episode for free when it comes out, and then they'll have to pay or become a Plus member. So excuse me. But that's they covered that. But I think both Microsoft and Sony did a pretty good job of, we're not talking about all of our living room features so much this year. We're not talking about this device will play everything that you want to do, play games and movies and music and cook your dinner and do all this other crazy stuff. No, I think they're starting to learn that, okay, people who want to buy these things, they got to play games, because that's what people are. Yes, they watch a lot of movies and stuff with them, but they want to play games with them. So then we go to Nintendo on Tuesday morning, and I really wasn't sure what to expect from Nintendo, because the Wii, if you thought Microsoft was struggling a bit with all their 180s and changing their mind on everything, Nintendo, especially the Wii U, the 3DS has caught on pretty well, and that's doing pretty good. But the Wii U has been not so good lately. They really haven't sold many systems at all. They're really struggling with it, even though there are getting to be quite a few good games out there for it, which I'll talk about shortly. But they didn't do a traditional live conference. They did this, they called it a digital event, which was this pre-recorded series of series of demonstrations and things. So they started off, they talked a lot about Super Smash Bros. That is coming to both the 3DS and the Wii U. 3DS is going to come out first, and the Wii U version is going to come out sometime later this fall, likely November. And that actually looks pretty good. You're going to be able to use your Miis now, and you're going to give them custom move sets and stuff. So you can have like a bare fist brawler, you can have like a sword fighter, or you can have a gunner, which you can have like a little arm cannon, like maybe like a Samus or Mega Man or something like that. And you can customize your move sets. The other thing that they talked about is that you can, just like the Skylanders and the Disney Infinity, they're sorting their own kind of collectibles figures sort of thing. Nintendo is calling theirs Amiibo, which is a really weird name. Amiibo, I guess, like it's Mii's and Amigo, I don't know. but they're little figures, and at least what they said is they're going to be... The first game that's going to use them is Smash Brothers. And but at least when you get them, Nintendo is going to support them with existing and future titles. Ooh, let's go up there. Can I get up there? So you can get... You know, if you get a Mario figure, you're going to be able to use it with, like, Smash Brothers. They said Mario Kart is going to be able to use it. Mario Party 10, which they announced after their press conference, or their digital event, as it were. And I can't see... Oh, this camera is really bad in this little... Yep, clip through it. I don't even know what the hell's going on. Okay, there we go. We're not going to do that again. So they got the Amiibo, which... I don't know. I've always been a little bit leery of, like, oh, you're going to buy this game, and now you have to buy a whole ton of these figures and whatever to play with the game. And I hope it's not this really crazy gimmick of just, just buy more crap. I hope they actually tie it into some meaningful gameplay. I mean, it sounds like they're going to... You know, they talked about Smash Brothers, where you're going to be able to, if you fight against other Amiibo, or you fight against AI, or you fight against friends online, or you fight against, you know, the regular characters in the game, or your Miis, they're going to gain experience, and you can have, you know, based on that, and you're customizing your moves, like your Amiibo will be different from everybody else's. So we'll see how they capitalize on that. But, yeah, you know, I don't know. Could be interesting. Not sure. They had Kirby, a new Kirby game. They had, like, on the original DS, they had Canvas Curse, which was a really cool take where you use the stylus to draw, like, paths for Kirby to actually navigate the world, and just some really creative gameplay. And they're doing an HD version of that on the Wii U using the gamepad, so really good use of the gamepad there. They have a really cool Yoshi game. They're making Yoshi Woolly World, I think it's called, and if it's similar to like a Kirby's Epic Yarn that came out on the original Wii, and it was just a really colorful, creative game, and like they have this whole yarn wool aesthetic to it. This one's going to be more about exploration versus platforming, or so they said. That just looks really kind of cool. They showed off another game called, was it Splatoon? Where it's kind of this interesting multiplayer gimmick where you're playing these teams, but you're this combination human and squid, and you're using you like shoot ink out, and the more ink you cover the world in, like when you're on your ink, you can go faster, and like if your enemy, you know, if you're going through your enemy's territory, it's about, you know, capturing territory, and the more territory you have, it's easier for you to get around, and you can take them out. But you know, they slow you down if you got enemy ink and stuff like that. So it looked like a really, you know, family-friendly, colorful, but actually pretty fun way to do an action shooter. So, you know, that was out of nowhere. I did not see that coming. I had never heard of it before. That was a surprise. So good on them for making a new franchise. I really hope it does well. Of course, you had a couple new Zelda titles, actually. You had, they talked a little bit about the new Zelda that's coming in at least 2015. They're talking about a more open world Zelda. You know, the originals were really open world, but as they went 3D, they kind of had open areas, but then you kind of were funneled to them based on the technology limitations. But now they're able to do more of an open world, so they're kind of thinking of more like a Skyrim meets Zelda, which, or like a, you know, Elder Scrolls game style versus compared with Zelda. I say bring it on, because that sounds fantastic. You bring me Zelda gameplay with like an open Skyrim world, or Oblivion, or Elder Scrolls, whatever. Sign me up 110%. I'm all about that. So that I'm really looking forward to. The little bit that they did, the video that they showed about of it, it looked really good. I like the art style. It's kind of a combination of, it wasn't cel shaded, but it had this really nice kind of animated look to it. I really liked it. Then they had Zelda Hyrule Warriors, which they're having someone else, they're making a combination of Dynasty Warriors and the Legend of Zelda universe, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I like the idea. I mean, it was amazing back in the PS2 days, like to see the original Dynasty Warriors. You're fighting so many dudes at a time. You know, you're used to the 16-bit brawlers or 8 and 16-bit brawlers, Double Dragon, Final Fight, whatever. But now you're just fighting like hundreds of guys at one time. But they got a little repetitive, and I stopped caring after like the second one. So, and they've had so many of them and so many spin-offs that I don't even know. They've got Gundam ones and they've got like Japan ones, and I don't even know all the spin-offs they have, but they're there. But they're doing that. They're coming out with that this year, so that's going to be in September. The Hyrule Warriors. I don't know. Could be interesting. I'll keep an eye on it. For RPG fans, they have a new Xenoblade game. That was one of the ones that fans were really trying to get Nintendo to translate and come over to America at the end of the original Wii's lifespan. And if you're into that kind of turn-based or like traditional Japanese RPG, it looks really good. Again, I'm not really into that kind of game, so I can't really speak much more to it than that. But if you're into that, looks like it could be pretty solid, and I know the original Xenoblade got a lot of praise. People really liked it, so that's something good to look forward to. The thing that really I found out, I heard a rumor about it before E3, and I was very glad to find out that it was true, is Nintendo also announced Mario Maker for the Wii U. This is what it sounds like. You can make your own 2D Mario levels. Now, I don't know what I want. There's a few things I really want to know about this, because if they even deliver on half of it, it'll be fantastic. What Nintendo really has to do is, here's what they need to do. I want to be able to, like, they showed that you can make like levels to look like Super Mario Brothers 1. You can make it look like New Super Mario Brothers. They didn't show anything else, but I'm hoping that you can also make like Super Mario Brothers 2 or Super Mario Brothers 3, maybe even Super Mario World type levels, so you have those types of elements in there. I'm hoping that they do. So I hope they do that. And I hope that you can also make not just a level, but let's say you want to make a level pack and link them together. So if you want to make your own world of, if you want to make it like the original game, you got 4 levels per world. Or if you want to make a new Super Mario Brothers, type of thing, or Mario Brothers 3, you can have however many worlds or levels you want in a world. I'm hoping that you could do that. And even have things like, you go down a pipe to go to a little secret area with coins in it, or you take a warp zone to go to a whole different world. Like, so if you make a bunch of levels, you can connect them in those types of ways. And I really hope that you can package them together like that. But the key that's going to make or break this Mario Maker, the thing that Nintendo has to get right, and that makes me worry a little bit, although they've gotten better from what I've heard, like the 3DS Online has gotten better. The Wii U has gotten better. I've heard really good things about how Mario Kart does online. They have to support a good, easy to use, and easy to rate and find things. They need to have a good online sharing system for Mario Maker to work. Because if they don't, and if you can only do it through friends, and if you have to go through a bunch of hoops to do that, that is just heartbreaking, because a game like Mario Maker, it just screams level sharing. You have to share them. You can build your own, but you can just look at all the stuff that everybody else online is doing, and that's exactly what Nintendo needs to do right with this game. So, like Little Big Planet, their thing was they did a really good sharing mechanic, or they had you could rank levels, you could sort them, you could make level packs, you could do all kinds of crazy stuff and offer them to people. Really well done there. But a lot of people didn't like the way that Little Big Planet played. You know, the jumping was too floaty, and it just, for a platformer, it didn't feel, you know, as tight as you would expect a 2D platformer to feel. But everybody knows how a Mario game plays. I mean, everybody has pretty much played some kind of a Mario game, whether it's Nintendo or, you know, older Nintendo consoles or new systems. You know what to expect pretty much from a Mario game. So you combine that with like great user-created levels, officially created levels, not just like the PC hacks that have been out there on the internet for a while. But to be able to do this officially, Nintendo Mario Game Maker, hell yeah, sign me up. I'm definitely going to be scouring the internet in the next while to find more information about this game, because that sounds really, really exciting. Aside from that, you know, I mean, throughout the presentation it was kind of funny. Nintendo did this, you know, because it was all pre-recorded, they did these like almost Robot Chicken style claymation things where like they would have Nintendo characters bantering back and forth. They had like a the Princess and Bowser arguing in one of them. They had Little Mac and I think Star Fox. They were in one of them, but they were kind of dumb, but they were kind of funny too. So I thought it was a nice way to transition between different things and break things up a little bit. But it was, like I said, it was kind of dumb, but I kind of enjoyed it. As far as other games Nintendo had, I know I'm forgetting some. I know I have to be. I talked about the Zeldas, I talked about Mario, I talked about Smash Brothers, Kirby. Oh, they had, what was it called? Bayonetta. You know, early in the Wii U lifespan, they talked about that Bayonetta, Nintendo was funding it, and they were making Bayonetta 2 an exclusive to the Wii U, and that is coming out later this year. And the good news is, not only are they releasing Bayonetta 2, but on the same disc, it's going to come with the original Bayonetta, which probably, you know, they didn't come out on an older Nintendo system, so it's good that they're including that, so you get 2 games for the price of 1. So, not too shabby there. Obviously, I said there's a Mario Party 10 coming out. I learned about that a little bit later. Nintendo, what else did they have? Like I said, they're going to have some indie games on the eShop as well, so there's going to have stuff to be covered there. But that is largely what I can think of. You got Mario, Zelda, Smash. Nothing for Metroid yet. I was kind of hoping to see like either like a 3DS Metroid, maybe even like a Wii U Metroid, I don't know, but I was hoping to see something like that. But maybe even an F-Zero, that would have been really awesome to see. But, you know, I think they did a really good job. They showed games that people want to play. I wanted to play them. There's enough there was starting to be enough games, and a lot of times in a Nintendo system lifespan, at least in the past few systems, Mario Kart has kind of been the tipping point. I'm a huge Mario Kart fan. I've loved the series. I liked the Super Nintendo version, but I never really liked the fact that it was like, you know, it was even in one player, it was a split screen. You had the map on the bottom and you were on the top. Especially since the N64 version, I've loved Mario Kart. So the new one has looked really good. There's some other games that are out both on the eShop and retail games. And a lot of the stuff that Nintendo has announced so far at E3 during their conference and beyond, because a lot of this other stuff on the other consoles is going to come to PC at some point anyway, and I know I'll have to upgrade my rig in the next probably year or so anyway, because some of these system requirements, now that they're starting to show off the real power of next gen, because they're not just developing them for, you know, 360 and Xbox One or PS3 and PS4. They're not doing that. as much anymore, so you're really going to get to see some of those really good looking games. And yeah, I'm going to have to start upgrading my PC again, unfortunately, probably in the next year or so, but the things that I can't play on my PC are Nintendo games. They never have been, and that's just the way it is. And there's enough things on the Nintendo Wii U now that I may have, after doing a little, after thinking for a while before E3, and then waiting to see what Nintendo really would announce, I may happen to have just somehow bought the Mario Kart Wii U bundle on Amazon. It may have somehow ended into my shopping cart, and so I might maybe just will happen to have a new game system in my possession probably tomorrow or Friday at the latest. So yes, I did actually break down and I bought a Wii U. So I really didn't expect to about a month ago, but enough has happened where I think that I feel pretty darn comfortable supporting this system, because there's a lot of stuff I really do actually want to play. Well, I'm back. You may have noticed that we kind of just jumped to another level here, but as I was recording the last video, my game, Goat Simulator here, decided that it was going to up and crash. So I was almost done with the video. I literally had probably like a minute left, and I was going to wrap things up. So we're back in the original map here that you saw in my original low vision spotlight here. But, yeah, that's pretty much what I've seen of E3 so far. But just like the PlayStation 3, when I saw The Last of Us, and, the library had grown enough where I'm like, okay, there's a lot here that I really want to play. And I'm seeing what's coming out for the Wii U in the future, what is out there now. There's already still actually a pretty good lineup. You've got some Mario games, you've got Mario Kart, you've got good, Donkey Kong, you got Zombie U, you've got some good eShop games, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot there to actually play on the Wii U, and there's, like I said, some of the stuff that they showed at E3 looked really good for me. So I am going to, like I said, I will now be a proud Wii U owner. And beyond the press conferences, I really don't know. I haven't followed too much outside of that. I know they released like a teaser trailer for Doom, the new Doom game that I'll have the beta for because I got the Wolfenstein game. But like I said, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to upgrade my system here pretty soon to be able to start playing any of this real next generation stuff. So that's unfortunately another cost I'm going to have to incur in probably the next year or so. But otherwise, I know there's a lot of third-party stuff that I haven't looked at all, and if there's something that really catches my attention, I can maybe do another really quick YouTube video. But I wanted to cover largely because that's where the most attention goes, is these press conferences from like Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, and then like EA and Ubisoft. That's where a lot of the attention gets put. So it's not a comprehensive coverage, but it's my thoughts and reactions to that and what we're going to be getting to play in the next year to year and a half or so. So hope you guys found the Goat Simulator stuff halfway entertaining. I wasn't doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, but just kind of exploring the level that I hadn't played before. But like I said, hopefully you found this E3 stuff kind of interesting. I'm not claiming to be the definitive E3 place because I'm not there. I don't have time to even follow it from home all that much. There are endless number of gaming sites and podcasts and Twitter feeds and all kinds of ways to follow it for the real deal. But I just wanted to do something because E3 is just, the, aside from PAX, is the gaming event that most people pay attention to. So there's a lot coming out in 2000. There's some stuff coming out in 2014, but I think 2015 is going to be really huge because there's been so many delays pushed back even before E3. A lot of announcements of games like, you know, The Witcher 3, just so many games that have been pushed back. The new Batman game, a lot of high-profile games that have been pushed back to 2015, not to mention the ones that got announced at E3 that are coming out in 2015. All of that kind of stuff. There's going to be a lot to play this year, but next year especially is, I think, going to really start to show when these consoles really take off. So, you know, not to mention new PC generation video, and, you know, video cards and stuff. So that is a wrap up for E3 2014, my thoughts and reactions to it. Hopefully I can splice these videos together and make them look halfway decent. And until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys again later.